Every smart predator knows it takes time and energy to get a good meal. Antique dealers are no different. It's early morning Sunday, a hunt day, and we're heading 190 miles from San Diego to the Happy Hunting Grounds in Ventura. You gotta start early because there are other sharks in the water, and if they get there first, they get the prize. One of the great things about this early morning drive is that you actually get to slow down and see the things that you normally don't get to see, like the city of Los Angeles in the distance.
Oh, really? Nice.
It's also a perk that it's one of the only times you'll hit the 101 in LA with no traffic. This here is your sweeper. Do not confuse this as a racing competition moment. This is a time you say a silent thank you to your sweeper for going ahead and sweeping out any official entities that might have given you a ticket. When you start seeing signs for a city that's over 500 miles away from your house, you know you're coming up on those happy hunting grounds. Finally, you get off the highway, and you're ready to claim that first big prize of your morning. This is what working since 1:30 in the morning looks like. Welcome to the Happy Hunting Grounds. And now it's time to hunt. So we walk the grid for hours. And hours. And a couple more hours. Until the sun comes up. But it's worth it because you find a lot of great treasure. Finally, you have your plunder and you head out. And then you realize that you left some of your plunder at somebody else's booth. And it's time to start the 190-mile drive back to San Diego. Good job, America.
Hello, my name is Christian Chaffee and I am an antique dealer. I'm here to share with you some of my experiences in hopes that you will too enjoy making money on the side and add interesting and beautiful things to your home. First, I'd like to show you my equipment. A loop, very important to make sure marks are what you think they are, and an even better loop for those tiny marks. I also, at swap meets, I will take my trusty cart so that I don't have to leave anything behind, because if you leave something behind, it may not be yours. They may resell it, they may get talked into reselling it by somebody who knows it's worth more. So you always want to remove your stuff and take it with you whenever you're hunting a swap meet. Don't leave it in the booth, because it's really not yours till you get it out of the booth. Okay, let's talk about this pile of stuff that you're looking at, the painting and the other objects here. These were all procured from the Ventura Antique Show last Sunday, which I believe was the 25th. Well, whatever it was, it was. Anyway, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the items I found and what they're worth and what I paid, in hopes that some of you out there will take an interest in this field and you can make money on the side and start using your spare time to help get you ahead in the world. First thing I'll say is you've got to get to your swap meets very early. You better be there when you can first pay your fees and get in. If it's 6 a.m., you better be there at 6 a.m. I leave the shows about 8 o'clock and I see droves of people coming in. but I've already got the treasures in my cart and I'm leaving. And the reason I'm leaving is because there's no other treasures left behind, because my fellow constituents and I have completely stripped the carcass to the bone. There's nothing left for anybody else. You get there at 8 or 9 a.m., enjoy the walk, because there's really very few good investments left. Let me show you some of the investments I made at the show by getting there at Ventura at 6 a.m. I will start with this painting. This painting was owned by a fellow who was rather discouraged because his dog had damaged it. The reason I purchased it is because I could see that basically all the material was here. It's beautifully done and it has a nice frame. I got it for $80. When you look at something like this, any painting can be restored. The thing you want to avoid are paintings which have conditional problems where they're flaking. Simple tears can all be restored to be invisible. I bought it for $80. I will be selling this on eBay as is. I'm going to take a little bit of tape and tape this to show people that the entire painting is here, and I'll bet you I end up with, in this condition, $300 to $500 easily. The painting is dated 1915, and overall you can tell the paint is stable. Its only problems were tears in the canvas and some minor losses on the frame, which are easily touched up. Not a big deal. It's better to have a good piece of a good antique that has quality and beauty and have a little bit of damage, rather than to have a perfect condition piece of junk. Quality is more important. Well, this painting, I've told you about it. I bought it for $80. It should bring about $400. Now, as I'm at the show, sometimes things happen which kind of grab me. For example, there I am looking at a guy's table, and I notice off to the side that there's a guy looking at this. This is a 1920s cast iron football kicking toy. And I was standing at a table looking in a showcase, and I noticed this object off to my right on a lower stand. So we can look down here a little bit, Brianne. And it was sitting like this. And there was a fellow right here looking at it. And I glanced over at it and I saw it and I liked it. But I didn't show that I liked it. This is where my trusty cart came in. I took my cart like this and pretended I was done looking at the table, and I kind of started moving my cart toward him. Well, he was looking at it and making a decision, but at the moment I moved the cart, he was distracted and felt like he was in the way. So what he did is he stood up and backed off so I could get by with the cart. But I didn't go by with the cart. I grabbed the football toy and I purchased it. I said, $40, I'll take it. And it was over, it was mine. He looked bewildered and then he walked away. But the prize was mine. I bought it for $40, I'll probably get about $100 for it. That'll cover probably all my fuel going from San Diego to Ventura that morning. Okay, let's look at the next object. This I purchased. It was sitting on a table. It's made of brass and it's wood lined. It's in the size and shape of your typical cigar box because that's exactly what it is. But this particular one has a Chinese dragon on the front, which right now is very popular. Anything Oriental sells well. So I look on the bottom, it says made in China. I think I bought it for $10. It should bring about $50 or $60. If this was silver, it could bring much, much more money, sometimes into the tens of thousands. Let's go to the next object. This was sitting on a table. It's a beautiful little Satsuma pottery bowl. It's got a 2-character mark in kanji. And whenever you see a 2-character mark in kanji, and it is not written in English, the item was normally made for use within the Asian country, whether it be China or Japan or Korea. So I knew this was probably before 1891, and knowing the quality of the work, I knew it was a good piece. So I purchased this for about $20. It should bring about $75. Again, another tank of gas for my car. Then I spied this here, sitting on a table, a spoon in a box. The guy didn't think too much of it, what's one spoon in a box for? What he didn't realize was this was an antique silver christening spoon. And the reason he didn't find any silver marks on it is because it has tiny little hallmarks. Anytime you see a box which is specially made for something, chances are that item is complete unto itself and somebody cared about it. So I bought this for $15. It should sell for about $75. Again, we have another tank of gas, which is provided just because I saw it as I walked by. Then we get into some other items which are also interesting. I found these sitting on a fellow's table. And these are basically lead soldiers made by an English company called Britons. These are highly collectible, they're very nicely detailed, and being in the original box, they retain their original paint, so they have good value. I bought these for $15 a box. That's basically $3 a piece for antique toy soldiers with the original paint in the original box. These should bring about $125 to $200 each. So right there, you can see there's a profit of, I don't know, $300 or something on those. We'll see what happens. They're going to sell on eBay. They're on there now. The next item I noticed was what is known as a basketry bottle. Anytime you find an old bottle with a basket which has been woven around it in this manner, it's American Indian. The American Indians in the 1920s and 30s were looking for ways to make money. So what they would do is they would go out to the city dumps and get bottles, and they would weave a basket around it and then sell it to tourists coming by. And what that did is it allowed them to retain their independence and their pride and create a work of art using their own traditional handicrafts and make a living. So these things have become highly collectible, and it's hard to find these days with the original tops. This one is fortunate to have retained it. I bought it for $60. It should bring $300 to $400. The economy's a bit down. I'll be very happy with $250. The next items here. These here are some of my favorite little treasures to find because normally they're inexpensive and people don't realize what they really are. Anything from China has become highly desirable because the Chinese want the Chinese antiques back. So when you're out looking around, you want to avoid the cheap junk that was exported from China later on. You want to look for the earlier stuff of quality and beauty. Here we have a nice little Celadon jade Buddha. I found it in a guy's showcase. I think I paid about $20 for it. Because it's jade and it's well carved, it should bring $300 to $400. Next item, I bought this from a dealer. He didn't think too much of it, and I don't know why. A lot of times people don't give small items enough attention. It's beautifully carved. I have it priced at $850. I purchased it for $40. Third is a Chinese jade belt buckle, which always has a hook, and it always has like a place for a buttonhole to fit in a buttonhole. Whenever you find these, if they're older, they're worth $200 to $300, and the color of this one's not particularly good. You would rather it be pure white or a beautiful green and white color. Something of that sort would be worth much more, but still it's worth about $250, and I bought it for $20. Next item here is a Moriagi. Moriagi is a product that was made in Japan mostly, and it's raised enamels that are applied with a squeeze bag technique like cake decorating, and then they would fire it on. So when you actually fill it, these are actually raised up, and they were actually put on like a cake decorator would, and they did a beautiful job. Sometimes you'll find a little bit of damage, but it really doesn't hurt the value that much. I bought this piece here. I think I paid $15 for it. It should bring about $60, $75. We got another tank of gas right there. Many times when you walk around the antique shows, it's important to grab a few items that you know are going to make a definite profit. It helps cover your time and fuel costs for being there. The next item I have here I bought for $20. It's got a little damage, but it's carved alabaster, and it's done in a Renaissance style. For $20, that's a lot of bang for your buck. It needs a little repair. It could go on a stone base or a wood base, but it's an object of art which is beautiful, and it has characteristics associated with the Art Nouveau time period and the Renaissance time period. So if you can find a free-form bust like this, which is carved out of stone for what I paid $20, you know there's going to be profit in it because it has beauty, and people love things of beauty and quality. The white marks on alabaster, by the way, they come out if you put a little bit of oil on it. They turn translucent and blend into the surface, so it's kind of a way of taking care of chips or abrasions or bangs on alabaster. The next item here has value no matter what it is. People love California art right now. It's popular. So I always look for it. There's always money in it. It's always easily resold. One of the typical characteristics of better California paintings, although you can find a great painting in a really poor quality frame, usually better paintings are in better frames. This is not a painting, it's a tinted photograph, but notice the style of the corners. They're carved in a simple arts and crafts design, which is very typical of the frames that were used for California plein air paintings. So I was lucky. I have never seen a triptych, which is what this would be called, with 3 panels with a continuous scene of all 3. Many times you see this in Japanese woodblock prints, but very uncommon in 20th century American decorative arts. A triptych is any work of art which is framed in 3 separate frames with a continuous scene. And you find that a lot in Japanese woodblock prints, where they'll have a samurai battle and the battle continues on here and it continues on the other side. But in California art, it's not very common. I have seen it on room dividing screens, I've seen it on tabletop screens, and I have seen it in framed pictures of the prints, where the frame itself will actually be one frame, but it breaks the image up into three panels. They're always valuable if they're in good shape, just for their decorative characteristics alone. Now on to one of my favorite items that I picked up on Sunday, a Japanese sword. Now most Japanese swords, original genuine Japanese swords, were brought into the United States during World War II. If the blade has no chips or cracks, regardless of what it is, it's going to be worth at least $400. Most Japanese swords are not very valuable as a rule. Most of them were created to be weapons. But the point is, when it comes to Japanese swords, condition is everything. If you pull the blade out and the blade has no cracks or chips, chances are you have a sword that could have value more than $400, but it needs to be looked at by somebody knowledgeable. And you don't want to sell it to your typical sword dealer, but we'll talk about that some other time. In conclusion, this is the first of a number of films that we're going to be making that just basically let you know what I found the past weekend at an outdoor antique show. And I look forward to our next get-together, where hopefully I can show you many other treasures, and maybe I'll hit a home run next time. Didn't hit one this time, but I covered my expenses, and I made my day worth probably $1,000, maybe $2,000 profit on my Sunday. And I was home from Los Angeles by 2 in the afternoon, so I enjoyed the rest of my Sunday and felt comfortable because I had made a leap ahead in the world financially. Anyway, I wish you all good luck in your hunting, and I'll see you next time.